Joe Biden, some of the media are saying, well, Donald Trump, when it comes to Afghanistan, he set the deadline and Donald Trump wanted to do the same thing and this would have happened under Donald Trump. First of all, what kind of commander-in-chief talks this way? What kind of commander-in-chief talks this way? He's been president for 7 months. They've had 7 months to plan whatever he wants to do. The problem with Joe Biden is he's stubborn and he's stupid. And so he got very ideological about this. And first he set September 11th as a deadline. What kind of a fool does that? Then obviously he was told that doesn't go over well with the American people. So then he moves it up to August 31, I think it was. August 31. So the enemy's sitting there saying, okay. I want to tell you about Donald Trump. Remember Obama and Biden and ISIS? They formed a caliphate under Obama and Biden. And Biden was put in charge of dealing with ISIS. And so Trump tells his generals, wipe them out so we can get the hell out of there. And he wipes them out. Then Trump says, I want to get out of Syria. Now we still have a force in Syria of a couple thousand. But he wanted to pull most troops out. But what did Syria do? They started bombing their own people with gas canisters. They were gassing their own people. What did Trump do? He attacked them. Because he saw the inhumanity of it and he wouldn't put up with it. He didn't turn and run and say, it's not our problem anymore. We've been here long enough and so forth and so on. He attacked them and he warned them. You do it again, we'll attack you again. We still have some forces in Iraq, including intelligence forces, because we need to have some forward personnel and forward intelligence to protect the United States of America. You would think we would learn this after 9/11. I hear these isolationists, these protectionists, these people say, we've been to war 20 years, it's long enough. We're going to be at war as long as we're the United States of America, somewhere, somehow, some way. And it's not our fault. Some things are done more competently than others. But we're not looking for war. We were attacked from Afghanistan. What kind of a country would we be? And I hear we should have just wiped out Osama bin Laden and left. Well, wiping out Osama bin Laden, that doesn't mean somebody else wouldn't follow in their footsteps and so forth. It's just amazing to hear this kind of talk. Now, that doesn't mean also that you have to be Lindsey Graham and John McCain and send in, 2 million troops. That's stupid too, particularly given what we know Afghanistan is. Do you remember a couple of years back when the Taliban, while talking to the United States, though, kept organizing more and more attacks against us and the Afghan army? You remember that? And some massive bomb was dropped on their heads. You guys remember that? It was the biggest conventional bomb that we have, the biggest conventional weapon we have. It blew out their tunnels. It blew at the top of a mountain off. It killed like 7, 8, 9, 10,000 of their troops. We don't know the exact number, but they were amassing for an attack. Does that sound like Donald Trump would be sitting back while the Taliban are taking one provincial capital after another and then surrounding Kabul? We have 10,000 citizens in Kabul right now. It's not clear how they're going to get out of there. What do you think Donald Trump would do? You think he'd be Joe Biden? You think he'd be at Camp David? Of course not. So let's put that to an end right now. Right now, whether it's our southern border, whether it's our economic system, Joe Biden is a pandemic. It was Trump who cut off the oil pipeline to the Russians. It was Biden who gave it back. It was Trump who cut off the Iranians and were sinking their economy. It's Biden who gave it back. It was Trump who stood up to the communist Chinese and started to squeeze their economy for what they were doing, not only economically to us, but in the South China Sea. And now they roll all over Biden. So let's not make these false comparisons between Trump and Biden. It's hilarious when they make these comparisons. Biden is a disaster in every possible respect, as we knew when we opposed him early on. Now here's Biden. He's staring squarely behind his decision, he says. That shows you how stupid this man is. Donald Trump, like any good commander-in-chief, has to be flexible. Of course, you have principles, you have purposes, you have strategies. Your tactics have to be flexible. Your timing has to be flexible. And when you see the horror that's taking place, and he knows better than anyone, he's being told more than we know about the horrific conditions where they're going door to door, murdering people, raping women, torturing people, these child marriages. And these are barbarians. These are throwbacks to the 7th and 8th century. That's what the Taliban is. They're throwbacks. And to say things like, he wouldn't have done anything differently, or I stand squarely behind my decision, that is unacceptable. This is an impeachable offense as far as I'm concerned. And then he flies back to Camp David. Go ahead.
I stand squarely behind my decision. After 20 years, I've learned the hard way that there was never a good time to withdraw U.S. forces.
So here's where I seem to disagree with a lot of my brothers and sisters. If I were to tell you today that we could send in 2,500 non-combat military personnel, use federal contractors to make sure that the Afghan Air Force, such as it is kept up with mechanical, up-to-date technology and so forth, and the parts, and that we would keep our major air base there, which was totally protected, by the way, not only by the elements, but also by us, so we could strike if we needed to. And that by doing that, the Taliban would be effectively neutralized. If I told you we could do that today, you'd think I'm nuts, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you guys? And that's exactly what we had done. That's exactly what existed several months ago. I don't know why we did this. Well, we've been at war 20 years. That's long enough. Being at war 20 years. We're in a state of war still with North Korea, and we have 28,000 troops in South Korea. We have tens of thousands of troops in Europe, major air bases in Europe, naval bases in Europe, in order to neutralize and counter what would be Russia, and now that would include China. What would happen if we removed all those forces? What do you think would happen? The face of the globe would change immediately, and we'd be in dire, dire straits. So what's happened now? There's 20 years, I keep hearing, even some of our friends will do, 20 years is long enough. 20 years is long enough? We're really not fighting. And here's the thing, it's the Afghan soldiers who are carrying the brunt of the battle since 2014, when we removed all of our combat troops. They've had 50 to 70,000 casualties, deaths. That's a lot. And you hear men and women who have fought side to side with these individuals saying, it is outrageous what's being said about the Afghan military. We took their air power away. We closed our major air base in the middle of the night without telling them, and the Taliban rolled in and took over everything that was there. We pulled our federal contractors up so their helicopters couldn't be maintained. And then we say, go fight. Do you think Donald Trump would do these things? Do you think any serious commander-in-chief would do these things? No. And Biden says he stands by his decision. It is shocking that he would stand by this decision. And by the way, China's thrilled he stands by his decision. Russia's thrilled. North Korea's thrilled. Iran's thrilled. All of our enemies are chortling. They can't believe this. China's moving in immediately to make an alliance with the Taliban. They don't intend to go to war with them. They're going to try and make an alliance with them. Iran, the same thing. Even though Iran hates the form of Islam that's practiced in Afghanistan, doesn't matter. They have a common enemy, us. And as I said on the radio yesterday, and as other people are saying today, our border's wide open. We've just created a massive terror state. The Taliban now controls more of Afghanistan than they did prior to 9/11. Well, we're tired of war. They're not tired of war. They don't look at 20 years. They're not looking at the calendar. They could give a damn. They could give a damn. Unbelievable. By the way, Hamas, the Palestinians, congratulated the Taliban. Just thought you ought to know, because Biden's on the wrong side of that too. He's on the wrong side of Iran. He's on the wrong side of everything. Go ahead.
That's why we're still there. We were clear-eyed about the risks.
No, they were not clear-eyed about the risk. On the one hand, they say it happened faster than we thought. And then he says we're clear-eyed about the risk. Look, it's one thing to leave Afghanistan, but when you leave in a way that literally collapses the country, that is a historic disaster. For us, the inhumanity, the genocide that's going on and going to go on there is just unbelievable. But I had on my radio show last evening Colonel Richard Kemp. Who is he? He was the commander of British forces in Afghanistan early on, from 2003 and several years thereafter. The commander of British forces. And he said, let me tell you something, Mark. I worry about Pakistan. I said, what's going on? He said, the Taliban has a firm foothold, as does Al-Qaeda in Pakistan. It's a relatively weak, corrupt government. The generals in Pakistan know they have huge problems. They've managed so far to defend their government from potential collapse. He said, but the Taliban are going to take aim at them, and Al-Qaeda and all the rest. He said, they have nuclear weapons. They have nuclear weapons. So what Biden has done here, and he condemned Biden in no uncertain terms, has made the whole area more dangerous and more complicated and more difficult. You've got China on the border trying to cut deals. You've got Russia on the border. They didn't feel they had to shut their embassy. I'm sure Russia said, you keep your hands off the embassy or we'll track down each and every one of your families and we'll kill them. So somehow Russia, their embassy's immune. Iran's on the border. And they're all thrilled. And when you do something like this, you provoke your enemy. Do you know where China is today as I speak? China is having live fire practices pretty much off the coast of Taiwan. And their state media is putting out the word to the Taiwanese that you are a separatist movement and that Joe Biden can't defend you and won't defend you. So this is going into all their calculus. And this is why I said Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel. And I said it on radio last night. You better be paying close attention. You cannot rely on the Biden administration. And if they try and force you to take steps that will weaken your country, weaken it militarily, you must say no. Simply say no. You may have to defend yourselves. You may have to defend yourselves. This is shockingly dangerous, what's taken place here. Shockingly dangerous.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.